So we'll see. I see one person is on right now. Whoever's on right now, can you let me know if you can hear us okay? We're jumping live again after a few minutes of some technical issues. I wanted to know if the sound is okay now. Hmm, okay, just waiting to hear for that before we continue. I tell you, technology is something else.
Yeah, it's great when it works. It's
Yes,
great when it works.
definitely. Are you a really techie person? You like technology? No?
No,
Okay.
I don't mind using it, but I don't really know too much about it. I
Yeah.
actually I actually went to school for 2 years at ITT Tech and didn't learn a thing. All they did was take my money. Thank God they gave it back when they closed it down.
Oh my goodness.
My everything I know, my nephew, my youngest nephew, he taught me everything I know about technology. He's a
Oh, that's
whiz at
cool.
it. Yeah, he's a whiz.
All right. Well, we got a thumbs up, and I see Trouble posted that sounds good. So I think we're just going to start over for those who are just joining. And hopefully those who are already on will jump back in because they'll see we went live again. Well, just introduction to my for me. I'm Sheena, Mrs. Trouble, and I run a company, Trouble Defense, that provides firearm safety awareness for all. And my niche and my focus for what I do and my specialty is empowering women and also helping children as well be aware and safe about firearms. So make no mistake, I'm not here trying to teach all these kids out here how to shoot guns. I'm out here trying to teach them about safety awareness and to keep them away from guns in a negative, arena. So that is definitely a challenging job, considering the fact that when I mention kids and gun in the same sentence, a lot of times people already are trying to take off running, or they're already trying to punch me or beat me up. So I have to make my comments very quickly about safety awareness with children. So right now I have Miss Trey joining us right now, Miss Trey Morton, and she works at an elementary school. And I'm gonna have her introduce herself and explain, about how long she's worked in the child care facilities and things of that nature. So welcome, Miss Trey.
Thank you very much. My name is Trey Morton, and I have been in the school system for about 9 years now, and I also work as a before and after school care director for about 4 years before going into the school system.
Okay, okay, no problem, no problem. So, childcare has been just kind of a thing for you. Now, it takes a very special person to work with children, period. But I will
Yes.
tell you, the beginning of life, that is a whole nother field. Like, I worked in early childcare development for probably, I want to say about 7 years. I feel like I did service in
Hmm.
early childcare development. And honestly, I loved working with the babies. But I can tell you right now, today, I'm done. I can't do it. I can't do it. My patience is no longer as good as it used to be. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, children are a blessing, but exhausting at the same time.
Yeah, I don't think
Welcome,
I could
Michael.
do. I don't think I could do middle school or high school. I just stick with my elementary school kids because I don't
Okay.
think I could do the older ones.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So even for me now, I'm like, I don't even know if I would even be a person to work in the school system. I've always felt my niche more in childcare, early development.
Hmm.
Um, but I have to stay away from the 2-year-old classroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, the twos, no, no, they
I
they
was
they
also
expect
a
three.
direct. I was a director at a site too for a bit, and I was like, no, I can. The babies is too much for me too. So I had to go to the school age kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did enjoy the infants though. I worked with 3 month to 1 years old. I enjoyed that right there. That's what my comfort was. And
Hmm.
I'm really happy you guys can hear us now. I'm just giving us a little small talk to make sure people can join, make sure people can hear us. And yes, you're right. Kids are too much. But that's why we're here today, because kids are our future and we have to do something to really help them and make sure that they are equipped with the knowledge that they need to make sure that they're safe and all the people around them are safe. I mean, let's be honest, we're all getting older, and one day those kids are gonna grow up and be the ones taking care of us. So we got to make sure we help them. All right, so what we're here today to do is discuss when is it a good time to have that conversation with children, and so about firearm safety and awareness. It's okay. You can take your time and fix that. Okay. um, but yeah, we have to find
Yeah.
out when is it a good time to deal with firearm safety and awareness, because children need to know about that. We can't just keep not having that conversation with children. Okay. Give me 1 second. You can mute if you want, or turn your screen off, Miss Trey, for a minute.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. Hang on.
It's okay. Things happen. We ran a little longer than expected. All right. All right. So while she's muted for a minute, I'm just going to go ahead and talk to you guys about. Let me know when was the first time you actually. When was the first time you actually picked up a firearm? If you have actually fired a firearm at this point, about what age do you think you were when you first tried using a firearm? So we actually have that poll already available in our community section of our YouTube channel. So if you guys are already subscribed, there's on the main screen where it's home screen, you also will find the shorts and the videos. If you swipe to the left on your phone, you would actually be able to see a tab that says community. And you can see the polls posted right there of some of the questions that we asked. So I'm just really curious to find out what age you were when you first picked up a firearm. So, all right. So when it comes to that, Miss Trey, I know you were telling me before, but if you can repeat that again about what age you think it was that you first picked up a firearm.
I was about 12 or 13 and I shot my mom's rifle. Uh,
Okay.
hmm Nikki says she needs the link. She can't
Okay.
get in.
Oh, okay. All right. You guys hold on tight 1 second. Let me just, I sent it to her. I thought I did. Give me 1 second. I can send her another one. So someone said they were 17. Okay. Just give me 1 second. If I go blank, I'm coming right back. All right.
Okay, she's here. She
Oh,
says she's on.
I see her now. All right, cool. So, yeah. So 17, one person said. Okay. All right. Any more takers? Anybody else? Somebody said they were 13. James, you was 13. That's
Hmm
cool. That's cool. So yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like your area where you were raised in kind of dictates when you would probably start that. I find that people who live more in a rural area, they tend to pick up firearms faster. You know, their family trains them and helps them. And welcome, Heckler, welcome. And 11 for you, I see. And for those like myself growing up in the city, I ain't touched a gun until I was well into my adulthood.
hmm
So it's definitely one of those things for me. So in our community area in our page, I did explain that we have that poll open, and I wanted to share this with you guys. So our statistical data that we gathered from our page alone, we asked how old were you when you first shot your first firearm, and the poll says 5 to 12. Age 5 to 12 was 14%. 13 to 19 is 36%. 20 to 29 is 43%, and 30 years or older is 7%. And anybody asked that question, answered that question, everybody has shot because we had an option for you haven't used the firearm yet. So majority of people in this poll was 20 to 29, which 43% of people. So that's pretty big to say.
hmm
Because it basically it proves a point that a lot of people are not getting educated about firearms. Even here today, not until at least 11. Now, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the meat and potatoes of this conversation. Do you feel, Miss Trey, being in your experience working with children for these years, do you feel that 11-year-old is a great age to start, or do you think we should have started earlier?
Well, I think it's up to each individual family as to how they feel talking to their children about it. But I would say between starting at like 8 to, you know, so on, you need to have a talk at least about, what it's used for, how, it's for self-defense. You're not supposed to touch it. It's for adults, things like that. And then when we get in the preteen years, the 11, to those years, yes, then we have the serious conversation and maybe even let them, see it and show it to them. And,
Right.
but let them know it's going to always be locked up, and it's
Yeah,
only to be handled by mama or daddy or whoever the
that's
adult
facts.
is
Facts.
in the home.
Yes, yes. That makes a lot of sense. So in your
Mhm.
school,
Hi.
kids. So in your school, have you experienced any situations where a kid has brought a gun to school or any kind of high alert about firearms?
We've had a couple of toy guns, but nothing real. And that our school system took that pretty serious. It had to go through the higher ups in the school and everything. So they took that pretty serious because it could have been, you know,
Yeah,
real.
yeah. I would
Hmm.
imagine that was a big deal, only because my husband and I were talking before about how when we were younger, if kids brought things to school, like for example, like a lighter that was in the shape of a gun, if they
Yep.
did something like that, it was like a slap on the wrist, and then go about your way. But
Hmm.
nowadays, it's a whole big thing.
Yeah.
You can't bring anything that resembles a firearm to school.
Mm-mm. And this student was only like in first or second grade and
Hmm.
was waving the thing around like it was real and telling the kids that he was going to shoot them. So they took that pretty serious.
Wow. And so
Hmm.
that's exactly the point of this conversation, because a lot of times, people are very quick to say, okay, kids need to have education about sex, right? So,
Right.
do you guys have sex education classes in your elementary school?
We do for fifth grade only. And
For fifth
they
grade?
have to have a signed consent form from the parents in order for them to participate. And what they do is they have the classes for the boys and then they have
Mhm.
the classes for the girls. They don't, do it together. So yeah, we
Okay.
do it.
Okay. Well, that's still good that they would have that conversation. And I feel it's so weird the fact that in public schools specifically, they don't want to have any conversation about guns, regardless of us trying to explain to them, hey, look, we want to have a conversation with these kids about them staying away from guns. Don't touch
Hmm.
the gun. Your parents is the one that's going to have to help you and introduce you to it if you are interested. Here is some resources for your parents if they want to go that route of helping you learn. And so,
Hmm.
but the school systems are not really on board with that. So from my understanding, you are at a public school, right?
I am. Uh-huh.
Okay. So I have had some experience of trying to speak to some schools in Virginia in a public school setting, and they're just kind of like, oh, well, we need to talk to this person. Oh, we need to
Hmm.
talk to that
Yep.
person.
Yep.
And so that it just kind of goes on and on and on.
Hmm.
So someone said kids should know when they can understand what's right and what's wrong. Oh, okay, that is a good thought process here. So one of the things that I found really weird and funny is that we teach our kids before they can even talk what hot is, right? Like something's hot, don't touch that. Okay.
Hmm.
Now you may already understand this, and for those who are not in early child care development, you may not understand this, that kids don't really know what hot
That
is at
is
that age.
exactly.
They don't really know. They just know that they're listening to your tone. They're listening to your body language, and they understand that they should not do that. Okay. Now you do have some kids that want to test those waters and still go ahead and touch it, or try to touch it. But by the time
Hmm.
you get to them and pop those little hands or snatch their hand back, whatever it is your way of doing things, they understand that they should not touch that. Don't put your finger
Mhm.
in the socket. Don't put anything in the socket.
Right.
Don't touch that fire coming out that stove, you know. And so kids are taught this well before 5 years old, and they get it. Why do you guys think that we're not teaching kids about guns this early? You know, not to say that we have to teach this to our 1 year olds necessarily, because they shouldn't even be able to touch a gun, but at least around five, at least around that kindergarten, that pre K kindergarten age. So why do you think people don't, Miss Trey, have that conversation with their kids in general about guns at that young age, 4 or 5?
Maybe they well, I don't think the kids would understand first, just like you said, they don't understand what hot is from cold. So they're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna understand this is bad, don't touch this. And it
Mm-hmm.
may introduce them to like, oh, make them curious, like I might want to see what this is. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's
So
true.
that might be like why they're not gonna show them at that age, because until they can understand, they just like you said, it's to them, it's just like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
you know.
For those who have in the audience, the viewers, for like Heckler said that they talk to their kids, that Heckler talks to the kids. That's really great. I'm glad you do. I'm curious, what age did you start talking to your kids? So, can anybody tell me what age you started, your child's age, what age they were when you first started to have those conversations about firearms? So just curious what people are out there doing. So I really appreciate everybody being on this. I just want to go ahead and just put this out there for anybody who's just jumping on there. Miss Trey works at an elementary school in Virginia, a public elementary school, and she's here as our special guest today, just trying to give her perspective based on meeting and greeting and talking to the teachers and the parents, and then seeing the kids day in and day out. And so she's been in this profession now for at least 9 years, going strong. And she has a lot of insight because she sees these families all the time. So I see we have like 11-year-old, 8-year-old, 10-year-old. That's really good ages there. Really good
Yep.
ages to start having conversations with your kids. Um, 7, okay. All right. So yeah, when it comes to this, everybody has a different way of doing it. What I will tell you as a parent, I have 4 kids. As a parent, I had to take each kid individually, meaning that
Yep.
they're all different. They're going to be ready when they're ready. And regardless of me and my husband doing this as a profession, and we have guns, we have lots of guns, sure, but we take our time in introducing them to it. So we kind of make sure they know the safety. Make sure that don't touch the firearm. Why you're not going to touch the firearm? Because what? Who does it affect when you touch this firearm? Because we don't live in an era anymore of do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
We don't live
Hmm.
in that era anymore.
Right.
Too many statistics and proof of evidence of life have proven that that way of life is not necessarily the best approach, and it doesn't work usually. So, what I will say is, do you guys agree or disagree? So you can put, agree or disagree that if I introduce children to firearms, that they will be more curious about them. So I'm just curious if if our viewers believe that. And Miss Trey, how about you? Do you feel like if I introduce children, let's say we were able to go into the school and talk to the kids about guns, do you think that'll make them more interested about it?
I do. I think it'll make them more curious, and if they saw one, I think they would pick it up and try to see what it's all about. Even
Mm,
though we tell them no, you shouldn't, but if I think if they had an opportunity, they saw one, and we just talked about it, they're gonna want to pick it up and see. Okay, this is what mom was telling me about. This is what dad was telling me about. This is a gun. What's
yeah,
so
yeah.
bad about it?
Hmm.
Mm,
I agree. I agree.
mhm.
And that, I'm almost banking on that. Given the experience of being around kids with firearms, I like the fact that they become a little bit more interested. And I'm going to tell you guys why, okay? The reason why is because that gives us an opportunity to actually cultivate their attention in how they're actually using a firearm, what they're
Mhm.
actually getting from it. Because what we're doing as a nation so far is we're not having the gun talk with our kids, and then
Right.
they're seeing it. on these video games, then we go buy them. Well, I'm sorry, we don't go and buy video games anymore. See, now I'm telling my age. We download video games and we buy them for our kids when we download them 9 times out of 10. And even if
Mhm.
they are playing the free version of Roblox or whatever other games out there, they're playing some shooting games. Best to believe our
Mhm.
kids are playing shooting games.
Oh yeah.
So it's our job to cultivate how they're receiving that information, what they're doing with that information. If we do have that conversation, do you guys think that it would be a negative effect with them? So I'm seeing some people say that they disagree about the exposing them will make them interested. Education is everything. Educate them that they will win respect for them. That is the perfect point right there. That's exactly what I'm saying. So we need to educate them that they will gain respect for the firearm. Because if we don't have the conversation with them, then we're leaving it to the media to educate our children about firearms. And
Mhm.
so what do you think happens then? What do you think things, Miss Trader, they're getting from the media? I know you said it was some kids that bought some play guns to school. Do you think they pretty much were copying what they saw from the media?
Oh, I really can't say um what the dynamic was for that. I really don't know. Because I wasn't involved in, hearing what the child said or what the parents said, what happened, how they got the gun or any of that. I didn't hear, the end of that story, but
Hmm.
um well, I'm pretty sure they're hearing from the media, that children are being shot especially if they're in this area, because the DC area is always on the news. Some
Yes.
child handled a gun or got a hold of a gun and, shot their sister or their brother or something like that. So yeah, I'm pretty sure
Hmm.
they're hearing it on the news. And I
Yes.
agree. I'm not saying don't educate your child,
Hmm.
about the guns. Yeah, I agree that you can, but for me, I feel like it's a certain age that you do it to, with.
Yeah. Yeah. And you were saying around what again? Refresh my memory. What age you think that was
Be,
around what age?
between 8 and on up,
8 and up. Okay.
8 and up, yes.
All right. And that's definitely a good thought process there, I think. Um, I personally, I mean, I have a 5-year-old here at home now, and I'm looking at her peers. And when I tell you
Hmm.
these kids are so smart, they are so smart. I mean, you working in the childcare center, in the childcare facility, you probably have noticed, and I don't know if you've noticed this, and maybe you guys have noticed this in the audience, is that with each generation, they get smarter and smarter and smarter. Like, I just can't even think about the fact of, like, I know my grandmother was telling me when my mom and my aunts and uncles were born, they wouldn't even open their eyes the first week of being born. A couple days or so, right? But now these kids are being born with their eyes wide open, holding their
Hmm.
heads up, and all
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I mean, they come out the womb with more intelligence than we have, other generations before them. And so, with that being said, they're making decisions every day they go off to school. So, do you guys agree that when you send your kids to school, that they have to make decisions while they're at school by themselves, without their
Yep.
parents? Yes or no? Because if you can honestly say yes to that, then you know that you have to equip them with that knowledge that they need to make good decisions. And that's where we need to make sure we don't fail and lack.
Hmm.
So, one of the other perspectives that I wanted to take, and I want to tell you guys the statistic that we came up with as far as the age group too. Let me go back to that for a second. We asked all of our viewers, what age should you be educated about firearm safety and the usage? Some people said 5 to 10 years old, which was 42%. Some people said 11 to 13, which was 42% of that. And then others said 13 to 17, which was 17%. So it was tie, 42% a tie from 5 to 10 years old or 11 to 3. So I really think that's a nice little sweet spot of an age there. And I think you as a parent will make a decision on what's best for you and your household. How mature is your child? That would
Right.
dictate when you would have that conversation.
Hmm.
Okay, now a lot of people were saying yes, they agree that Kids are a little bit smarter than they once were in general. And with that being said, you have to understand that we got to give them that knowledge as soon as we can. You know, now the schools, for example, the schools doesn't want to get their hands into this, in not
Mm,
the public school, okay? But I have had some experience with charter schools in DC. So two encounters with our company. One hired us to do firearm training for a group of JROTC students. Okay, these are high school students, obviously, but JROTC students came to our shooting simulator to get some hands-on experience of firearm use because they're considering joining the military. So, do you guys agree that that was a good approach, and that may be a good way to educate our youth before they go off into the world and join the military? So, I'm curious about that. Let me know yes or no about that. And how about you, Miss Trey? How do you feel about that
I
perspective?
say yes. I definitely yes. That's a good thing, because they'll have some prior training before they go there. They'll know about the safety. They won't just walk in blindly and did somebody put a gun in their hand. You know what I mean?
Yes, which is actually what's happening a lot. My
Mhm.
husband is a veteran, and my dad is also a veteran, and I have plenty of friends and things that are veterans, and even currently still serving and things. And I've had some horror stories from basic training.
Mm.
Do I have any veterans here? Any veterans? Go ahead and give me your hoorah, your whatever thing you guys say, because it's different branches say different things. Go ahead and shout it out. If you are military, go ahead and shout it out right now. So when it comes to the military, though, you do get these young people going in there, as soon as they can go to join,
Mhm.
they put a
Mhm.
rifle in their hand and then expect them to learn how to use that thing and not be afraid, right?
Yep.
Well, I have a few stories about that. We actually recently did do an interview with someone who is Miss Puerto Rico, interview pageant, and she explained to me her first time experience in dealing with a gun was in the military, and she
Mm.
was scared to death. I mean, terrified because it just was not a good experience. All these guns just going off. This is the first time she's ever been around a gun up close and personal. She was raised in DC, so yeah, we're used to guns
Ooh.
going off in DC. Yeah, sure. But if you're not in that, you're just used to it going off. And
Right.
so whew, so that was terrifying for her. But I did have another heart wrenching story where a young lady was explaining to me that she is a National Guard, and when she did basic training, that her first time, I mean, she was around other people who that was their first time dealing with firearms, and someone did accidentally shoot another person, like graze their ear or something. I think she said it
Mm.
wasn't a very life damaging, injury, but they did something to that extent because that was their first time handling the gun, joining the military. And so, with that perspective, I really think that our JROTC could actually definitely benefit to get some hands on experience with firearm use, even if it is just a shooting simulator. So, what do you guys think about that? You guys think that that's a good approach for our JROTC? Should they get some hands on experience? Let me know in that chat box area. All right, so my other experience, Miss Nikki, and this is why I'm sorry, Miss Trey, I apologize. I'm
No
mixed
problem.
up.
I get it all the time.
Really?
Yes.
So, Miss Trey, and you were explaining to me that you had some experience with some kids bringing some fake guns to school. Well, this is a really wild story. I was dealing with another charter school who actually hired us to come in and train their security team because
Mm.
they had a high school student to bring an actual gun to school with the intent of to kill another student, or
Mm.
sorry
Mm.
social media, unalive another student.
Yeah.
And so they had this intent. As a kid, I can't even imagine that. I mean, when I was a teenager, I wasn't thinking about that. I'm sure I got mad with people, but I
Mhm.
wasn't trying to unalive people.
No.
I mean, and how bold she was, Miss Trey. They had
Mm.
to go through a metal detector to go to school anyway.
Mhm.
And she still was that bold and that brave that she said, I'm just gonna bring this gun in here anyway. I thought that was the craziest story I ever heard. If I didn't see it on camera, I would have had a hard time, believing it. But that was
Mm,
real facts about that. So that brought a whole nother perspective to me, a whole nother thought process, because I thought to myself on both sides of the fence of that story. Okay, here you are, some kids engaged in some gang type,
right.
business.
Hmm.
Okay, and that's a real thing. Our teenagers are out there in the streets. They already out there before they get grown, right?
Yep.
But they're out there making decisions for various reasons. 9 times out of 10 is because of money, or 9 times out of 10 is because a friend of theirs or family member is doing that. And so they're doing
Hmm.
it too. But we have to educate them. Why are we not having these talks with these kids to try to divert them from having those decisions, let's see what the comments are saying. Oh, someone said they had a metal detector in middle school in Detroit and they're 35. I also had metal detector in my middle school in DC. And my high school in DC. So that also is also something else that has intrigued me. Metal detectors in schools. Do you guys agree or disagree that they should be there? And Miss Trey, how about you? Do you agree or disagree that metal detectors should be in the schools?
In this day and time, they definitely need to be in school. And our school system just started a few years ago, putting them in middle school and high schools. So
Mhm.
yeah, I feel in this day and time, we definitely need them.
Yeah, yeah. And that's it's really, I think that's really a touchy thing because one hand you may say we need them for safety, keep everybody safe, but the
Hmm.
other hand it's like, what are we teaching our kids? That they need to be in the system of being used of being a criminal, basically, you know
Mm.
and I had to think really hard about that when that thought process was brought to my attention, because I was raised in a system in which I had to walk through a metal detector, and I had to really reflect and think back to being a kid. Like, wait a minute, did I feel like I was in prison or something? And I guess I did. I mean, I had to walk through a metal detector. It had to be wound down, and if anything
Mm.
buzzed, then I had to be pat down. And so
Hmm.
yeah, it does something to your psyche. It definitely does. So that's also a touchy topic right there. So I'll
Hmm.
see what the people are saying here. So some people say that they agree that the metal detectors should be there, some saying no, and then some people saying hire vets. That's a good approach right there. Okay. You're preparing kids for jail. Okay. We need to stop sending them to school. Oh, that's a whole nother thing right there. What is your thought process, Miss Trey, about having homeschooling versus going to actual in-person school?
Well, I wouldn't have a job then, so I think it's each again, it's up to the parents. We still have kids after COVID who didn't come back in person. We still have homeschool and we have virtual school options, at on the level that we are in. So I hey, whatever you feel is best for your child, I feel like you ought to do it. And
Yeah,
that's you're the parent, and your opinion is the only opinion that should matter, because it's your child's safety that you're taking charge of. So who am I to say you should be sending them to public school? It's not up to
right.
me. I don't know your child like that. You know your child best, and how they
Hmm.
learn and how they feel in school. Because some people, if kids, if they don't feel safe in school, it's hard for them to learn. So maybe being at home, they feel safe, and that's
Yeah.
how so they can learn better.
Yeah. Safety is definitely key for all of this. I think the whole narrative about guns, regardless if you're for guns or against guns, is all about your personal safety. How do you feel safe? Everybody, that is like a core of what we need as a people, as an individual, to feel safe. And so the sad fact is, though, when I think about those areas in which, like I was explaining, the school where the kid brought the gun into school with the intent of killing another student, um,
Unaliving.
unaliving, yes, thank you, unaliving another student, that. really struck a nerve for me because I had to think back to being raised in DC. Did I feel safe going to school? I walked the metal detectors every day and no, I did not feel safe. It didn't make me feel not safer at all. I
Mm,
didn't feel safer at all. And I went to school every day scared. I did. Yeah, but was I going to tell anybody else that? No.
right, right.
Because it was just the reality of my situation. So I'm curious for the listeners out there. Did you guys go to school feeling unsafe? Did you guys feel scared going to school? Just in general, like just an everyday life. Miss Trey, did you have that experience of feeling unsafe going to school?
I never did. I felt
Let me
safe
go.
in school because we're raised in the country, so you know we're safe.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
have any problems, and
Hmm.
when I was in school, nowadays they keep the schools locked. When I was in school, the doors were not locked. Anybody could just come into school.
Oh
But
wow.
now the schools are locked and they have to be let in the school and they need that
Hmm.
an inquiry. What are you doing here? What's your reason for coming?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really sad that things have changed to that degree in a negative direction that we do have to
Mhm.
have the doors locked and we have to ask why you here and show IDs and all of this. So
I'm
let's
laughing
see.
at my
It's different. These kids crazy. You right. You right. These kids are different. They totally
Mhm.
different. And
Yes.
then, I heard a very terrible story the other day in DC just a few days ago. Broad daylight in the morning time, you have the early child care center taking a morning
Mhm.
walk with their
Mm.
toddlers, and
Yes.
a toddler, a 2-year old, got shot because three people opened fire just broad daylight.
Mm.
Them ended up unalived, and one of them survived. And the
Mm.
baby, the 2-year old, was shot, but she's still alive. So I
Mm.
just felt that that was such a terrible thing that happened, and I was so sad to hear that. I tell you, I just can't get over the fact that people would even do things like that, like just broad daylight, just shooting, don't care about nobody else around. That is the
Mm.
really sad truth that we need to educate these teenagers about street violence. Okay, so that's a whole topic there, but just really the idea that they have no street code to say we're not going to shoot innocent people. We're not going to do this in the midst of innocent people. That used to be a thing. Now that's gone out the window.
Right. They don't care now.
Yeah, and I just find that so disheartening. Yes, but that gives me more of a thought process to we have to have these conversations with these kids. So some of these kids are getting a gun because they feel unsafe. They're called themselves protecting themselves, right? And
Mm.
so that is one of the things that they're doing. And I have to think about it from that perspective. But we have to, as adults, find a way to help them feel safe. So we need to find different solutions to those problems and talk to these kids about what we can do to keep them safe or keep them feeling safe, you know? So, do you guys in the media have any suggestions of what we can possibly do as a community to help our kids feel safer? And Miss Trey, do you have any solutions to that? Any suggestions to maybe your elementary kids? Do they we have any suggestions about how to keep them safe or feel safe at least?
I think it starts at home first, for the parents to back up the school system and then, just reassure the child that you're safe at school and get to know like the staff. Like for me,
Mm,
most of the kids know me, and Miss Trey is going to help you or make you feel safe. If you ever feel afraid or scared, you can always come see Miss Trey. You don't have to worry. You're never going to be in trouble. Even when
mhm,
we have children who miss their behaviors and some of them just run out of the classroom, they'll run right up to the office and just run with me. And I'll be like, what are you doing here? And they'll just say, well, I'm not having a good day or something, and they'll sit
mhm,
there and talk to me and tell me, what's going on and everything. So I feel like just making them feel safe,
mhm,
from the parents to the school staff, the teachers. All I think every adult should be involved in making children feel safe.
That's a really good thought process, and it looks like the audience also is agreeing. I'm seeing a lot of comments about the parents raising them in that way. And I'm also, so thank you guys for those comments. And people are definitely, that James said, it's definitely the parents' fault. And then then I have somebody else that did say something different though. Dirty NGR said no, James parents single. So so parents, so single parents, I guess that's what he's trying to say. So we do have some single parents that's raising kids all alone, and they trying to work and they work and then
Mm,
they try to get home and feed them and clothe them, and so it is a little bit hard. So it does take a community. It does take a
yes.
community.
Hmm.
Um, so even with the parents' role in all of this, as far as keeping the kids safe, what do you think, Miss Trey, will be good tips to give parents to help their kids feel safe when they're coming to school or just being out and about in their community?
Um, that's a good question. Just being out and about in the community. I don't know, how would you make a child feel safe? If you're not with them, I would assume,
Yeah.
any child feels safe when they're with their parents.
Hmm.
As far as them like getting on a school bus and coming to school and feeling safe
Hmm.
on the bus, again, that's up to the bus driver to make them feel
Hmm.
safe. It's up to the parent to get to know the bus driver, and like I said again, the school staff, get to know the staff. Don't just drop your kids off and you don't know a soul in the school. Yeah, I think you should
Hmm.
get to know, the staff and be involved in your child's education. Come to the
Yeah.
teacher conferences, come to the meetings, don't just blow it off like I don't need to go up to that school. You
Hmm.
need to be involved in because some parents just get angry because you request a meeting with them and they have to
Right.
work or they have to take off work. Well, your child is important. You can take a day off work to come and get your child situated. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
So
relationships, build
I think you gave some
relationships.
answers. Yeah, you gave some great answers right there. You said, I don't know, but you gave them. So I agree. I think that's the answer. And it seems like to put their kids in homeschool, that they should put them in homeschool. And they brought up another fact. The point Will put out is that we have to consider the fact that the parents is now responsible for educating their kid when you leave your kid at homeschool. So are you really equipped to do that? Are you really going to do it? That's, I guess that's the direction that Will was trying to go with that. And then the parents being involved again, I'm noticing that too. People are saying the parents need to be involved. So definitely talking to your kids, talking to the teachers. Me working in early child care, I can tell you this. The children felt safe coming to me, the babies. Babies don't lie, okay? They're gonna come to you or they're not gonna come to you. And they feel
Hmm.
comfortable coming to me because I took the time as a teacher to go and talk to their parents, spend time with their parents, make eye contact with them and their parents. And once I was able to initiate that trust right there from the beginning with the parent, the kid automatically trusts me too. So what
Exactly.
you're saying is exactly true. Even at an infant, you can see that. And it's very well the same way with other adolescent kids or teenage kids. So when it comes to homeschooling, they do have other programs out there now because I'm seeing that some people are definitely saying that most people can't homeschool. They can hardly read. Good facts. What I will say is that they have a lot of tools out there for homeschooling now. So so yeah, definitely it's one of those things where they definitely are doing that. They have a lot of tools for homeschooling. You're not just teaching your kids on your own. Someone else said, I hate to agree with you that they were agreeing with somebody saying that somebody can hardly read. I can tell you right now that they're doing new math out there. New
Oh my
math.
goodness, yes. Phew.
Yeah. Well, Will, here is a safe space. You don't have to be sorry about your comments, okay? We're going to be respectful to everybody. Anytime that we disagree with anybody, that's okay. It's all right. It's your opinion. Long as you're being respectful, we're gonna be respectful back to you. You are entitled to your own opinions, and I'm totally okay with that. So someone else was saying the future is going to be worse because the parents are more interested in TikTok than
TikTok.
their kids. Woo! Good point. Good point.
Social media, period.
Social media is addictive.
Mm.
Here we are on social media, right?
Here we are.
But we're definitely using this platform to help educate, and I hope that we are inspiring people to spend more time with your kids, talk to your kids about gun safety. If you don't know what to do yourself, do get with a local gun place that's going to actually educate you and your children about gun safety. Don't just send them to a class. Be in that class with them, know
Hmm.
what they're talking about, see what's going on, and then if you feel comfortable as a parent, go ahead and have that instructor also teach them the hands-on, part of marksmanship and safety handling. If you feel that your child is responsible enough to do that. But for starters, definitely get them some education with a licensed professional. So let me go back to these comments here real quick. AI will teach kids soon to what? Oh yeah, AI will be teaching the kids soon. They already are. They actually are.
Hmm.
And then Will said, "I hear everything that is being said and love it. Y'all definitely know what you are talking about." Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Definitely, I appreciate it. All right. So when it comes to the public school system, we were talking earlier about the fact that they don't allow. Let me see what this is saying. Please, everyone, hard press your screen and like. Oh, thank you, Trevor, for putting that out there. So when it comes to the private school versus the public school, I'm noticing there's a big difference because the public schools is really like, oh, I don't want to touch guns, I don't want to deal with guns, da 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 da. But when it comes to the private school or charter school, they're a little bit more lenient to say, okay, we can maybe ask the parents if that's okay, and they do get the approval for things like that. What steps do you think, being an administrative staff, if I were to bring this situation to your school, how do you think that the staff would react there? Who would I need to talk to, and what channels do you think this might go through? Just to say, hey, I want to give a safety class to the kids there.
Well, you would have to go first through the principal, and then the principal is going to have to go through her boss, and then that boss is going to have to go through their boss. So you'll probably be going all the way up to the superintendent of schools before you could get any real answers. And
Mm,
from what I know, I don't think it's going to be allowed.
yeah, yeah. And I have to agree with you about that. I definitely
Hmm.
have to agree with you about that. That's definitely a hard one.
It
I've
is.
been
It
trying.
is.
I have been trying, but it's definitely a hard one. One of these schools won't let me do this though.
Mhm.
Okay.
But the thing is, though, it's not just the school and the staff and the higher ups. You have to get also deal with the parents who's going to give
Yes.
that superintendent flack if that person says yes, we would like to have you come. The parents are going
Hmm.
to give that superintendent so much flack that the superintendent's going to be like, you know what, never mind, because
Yeah.
the parents run the school where I am. They run the school.
Yeah. And that's definitely been evidence where I am too. So I'm just trying to answer Will's question. Said he missed it. Did I say what type of instructor? Yes, a licensed professional, licensed firearm instructor is what I was referring to. Someone who's NRA, in uh, any kind of accreditation of a school for a licensed firearm instructor is fine. So definitely you want to get with somebody that has that knowledge and also experience to be able to help you understand the real truths about the safety and handling of firearms and about when and will not to touch that firearm, things of that nature. So definitely Trouble Defense is a source. You can reach us. And if you're in the DMV area, we got you. The Trouble Defense. You guys can check out the website, troubledefense.com. If you're in the DMV area, you can reach out to us and we'll be happy to help you and your children understand how to be safe. We actually do have lab courses that's virtual where we talk to our kids about firearm safety awareness. And we do also do one-on-one sessions at the range if the parent is saying that they want their child to begin learning how to safely handle and provide marksmanship for their child. Okay, so And see, I'd like to know what teach kids about this, and if so, what grade range? Okay, good question. So I think if I understand this correctly, Big Honcho Five, what type of things to teach the kids? You're asking two questions. So your age group would dictate what you would teach the kids. So let's start from there. So Miss Trey, if I had a 7 year old, what would you think would be appropriate to teach that 7 year old about?
Well, definitely first safety. Teach them why it may be necessary to have a gun, and then what the circumstances may be that you may have to use the gun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but definitely I would take them through, even go as far as show them the gun and show them what parts of the gun does what and what, the safety part of everything.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. At 7 years old, they can definitely understand all of that. Um, I would even go a step farther for Big Hunch question, just to put this out there. My suggestion as a licensed firearm instructor and a mom, I would
Right,
tell you somewhere around that kindergartner age, have a conversation. They don't need to touch it. They don't
right.
need to necessarily see it, but you do
Hmm.
need to talk to them about firearms are used for this. Firearms are not used for this.
Right.
And what are you going to do if you see a firearm? I would test them. Like I
Hmm.
literally take my daughter with me to the gun store when I'm going to go buy ammunition or whatever, or any other parts of things that I need for my guns. And I'm just really watching her to see what she's going to do. If she's going to go over to that case and try to touch it, or and then I'll start quizzing her. I ask her, "Hey, what you gonna do if you see a gun? But what if you was at school and you saw a gun? What you gonna do with it? What if you was at a friend house or a family member house and you saw a gun? What you gonna do?" And so we have those conversations. That's something you can do with the 5 year old right away. Very easy. And that's gonna give them an understanding that you as a parent are taking time to have a conversation with them first of all. You're making eye contact, you're building that trust with your child, and y'all are gonna talk about these things. And if they see a gun, what they're gonna do? You want them to tell you, right? So you tell them that that's what I want you to do. So if your kid, for example, Miss Trey, if a kid is older, let's say a middle school age kid, what would be a little bit different approach for that age group for you, in your opinion?
Again, I would take them to like a licensed instructor and actually, be there with them as they're getting their instructions for how the gun works. And I'm sure, by that age, the parents have already, told them the gun is going to
Hmm.
be locked up. You're not to touch it. It's used for this, and adults only are to touch it.
Right.
It's for an emergency situation, and you're not to be the one to decide when it's an emergency. It's up to the mama or the parent, to
Exactly.
decide this is an emergency. We have to, use the gun or whatever, and teach them like scenarios or circumstances, like, what would you do if this happened, or what if you do if that happened? What if mom ain't here? So just, educate them that way with a licensed instructor who may have more, better answers than you do, because that's what they do. You
Hmm.
always want to get a professional involved, because the
Exactly.
professional is supposed to know more than the parent if the parent isn't a professional. That's
Yeah.
just my personal opinion.
That's true. And I have to agree with that too. To piggyback off of what you were saying, at that age when you're in middle school, you do go a little bit more in depth with, when and when not to, and what's the point of it? Why do we do this? And to answer a little bit more of that two-part question, first of all, I think I misunderstood the question at first. It was, why do we teach the kids about this? We are answering that as well. And then the other part was, so what grade range? So we are answering that just from different perspectives, because people here have kids of all ages. And so I just want to go a little step further for our high school children. I think the approach needs to be a little bit more aggressive at that age. Okay.
Yes,
Because
more in
at that
depth.
age, they're deciding, it's popular to be a thug. It's popular. I mean, ain't no
Hmm.
way else to put it around that. It's just popular. I mean, I live in a community where you have whole kids pretending to be a thug, pretending
Hmm.
that they're poor and that they live in poverty when they clearly are well off, and they want to be this thug that lives in poverty. And so, has anybody else experienced that with children? Have you guys seen that in action where kids are pretending to be a thug or pretending to be living in poverty or both? I'm just curious, am I the only one noticing this? um, and so when it comes to that thought process, my thought process then is to say, hey, teenagers, I want to talk to you guys about what is the consequences of these actions that you're pretending to do or that you're portraying that you will do. So we need some scare straight programs.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was going to say too. Let them know jail is real.
Yes, it's real. Or even more so, people being unalived every day, all day.
Right, right.
I mean, and it's the sad truth that a lot of the people I grew up with growing up in the city, a lot of people, myself and my husband, grew up with are gone now. They're unalive because of some street stuff. And
Hmm.
so even family members. And it's so sad because it was sometimes it's preventable. You know, some things
Hmm.
are avoidable. And it all starts right here in the community having these conversations with our children.
Yep.
So, all right, so let me go back to this here. So I think we answered that question. All right. And Ding, I see that. You said that you started training with your kids at around age 5 by yourself and with the licensed instructor. Definitely great job for that. Could be given applause to Dean for that one. For Will Dean. I love it. I love it. Good job. All right. And so let's see. Any place and time could go, things can go wrong. Yes. Big Hunch made a point about that. Things can definitely go wrong any place and any time. And so you definitely do have to educate your kids because you can't always be with them. To answer that second part of that question is we're not going to always be there. So we have to be thankful of or thinking all the time about what information we can equip our children with so that they can make good decisions on their own because we're not going to always be there. So I think we really wrapped up the whole point of this conversation and, made sure that we got across to these points. If you guys have any questions about anything, I'm going to stick around for a while to answer any more questions you guys may have. But I will ask you before I leave to please, if you haven't already subscribed, definitely subscribe and stay tuned. I'm going to come back here every Friday at 8 with a different discussion pertaining to firearms, pertaining to women empowerment. And we're just going to keep this thing going strong and get the community involved so we can get the word out to keep people safe and help us make better decisions because we got to. We have to make better decisions. America is, we're drowning in gun violence.
Yes, yes.
And so we got to figure out how to fix that because I'm going to tell you right now, the answer is not to take away guns. I'm going to
Right.
tell you that. And the reason why it's not to take away guns is because we're not going to be able to take all the guns away from everyone. What we're going
Hmm.
to do is take the guns away from law abiding citizens, and the criminals are going to keep the guns. That's what's going to happen.
Hmm.
And who wants that? So, Miss Trey, do you have any other comments or questions to add before we leave today?
No, I want to thank you for having me. It was really fun tonight to be on and to interact. And hopefully, we help somebody tonight.
I really hope so too. I really hope so. Did anybody here learn anything? That's always my goal. Did anyone learn something? Please let me know. Yeah. So, women empowerment is what's been wrong, and that's a good point there too. Yeah, women empowerment is a really strong thing because women affect everyone. We're the mothers, we're the nurturers, we affect everyone. And it's one of those things where if we are empowered to help ourselves and feel strong in who we are, that will also pass through to our children. That will build our confidence to our spouses and any other family members and friends. So it's important. We have to. And I'm glad that Global Glock 45 said yes, that I guess that they learned something today. And Will said, I learned that I like y'all. I love it. I love it.
Thank
Thank
you,
you. We
Will.
love you back. We love you back, Will. I appreciate it for all the support and love. And definitely stay tuned for some more videos of inspiration. We have lots of short videos and some of our long content videos highlighting women in our community that's really helping others. So definitely stay tuned for more. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much, Miss Trey. I'm not going to hold up no more of your time tonight. You
No
have been
problem.
awesome.
Thank you again for having me.
I
Good
really
night.
appreciate it. You're welcome.
All right.
Anytime.
Sure.
All right. You have a good night.
Okay.
And you
Thank
guys,
you.
I'm going to stick around a while just to see if you guys have any other questions or comments. Have a good night, Miss Dean. I'm sorry, Miss Trey. And oh, thank you. I'm glad it was a great interview. Thank you. All right. And you spun that comment like nobody business. Okay. And I'm so glad that you guys enjoy. I really appreciate it. And definitely stay tuned because we definitely have some more great topics. And if you are interested in being a guest on the show, definitely send us an email. You can send an email to shootthesh@gmail.com. And I'll be happy to entertain any conversation you would like to be on a live with me to talk about your profession and how it pertains to firearms and things of that nature. So definitely please let me know. And also, if you have a another woman that you would definitely recommend who's in the DMV area or who would not mind jumping on an Oculus headset to do a full interview with me about their life, how they're helping community, how they're helping others in the community, what type of outreach they're doing. I'm trying to highlight as many women as possible and empower them to let them know that they are in control of their own destiny, that they can definitely live their dreams. And at the same token, haha, a little surprise, I'm challenging them to shoot different guns in between. So they're going to keep shooting these guns in between, make it harder and harder and harder. So definitely check out some of those long content videos that we have. And you guys will see what I'm talking about. Oh, this is awesome. Over 130 watching. Nice. Okay. When am I going to do the interview with men? Oh, maybe coming soon. It's definitely a thought process because definitely men are some of my biggest supporters of men, and I really appreciate it. I just think it's awesome because I made this platform for women, but I never really thought about how it's affecting men. And I feel like men are really getting a lot of this information and learning and benefiting from it and the fact of helping them be more equipped to deal with the women that's in their lives. I mean, honestly, you can't have too much information about that. We're a little bit difficult, I must admit. Women could be a little bit a lot. And so having guys have this type of support so that they know how to help the women in their lives is really important. I feel like guys are actually gaining from that. Okay, so one question, do y'all remember Fred Hampton? I don't remember Fred Hampton by name. Maybe you guys have to refresh my memory about that, Big Hunch. Okay. I do good stuff. Um thank you for the support. Yes, I am happily married. Happily. Can't say that enough. Best husband in the world. And I am so grateful that I trained you, DMV renovations. Oh, okay. Fred Hampton, a preacher. Okay. Okay, yeah. Okay, definitely. Yeah, no problem. I definitely enjoy talking to you guys. You guys have definitely been awesome. Been really such a big help. I love the interaction. And if you guys have questions and comments, again, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll do my best to answer them. And even when you guys put comments on the videos, any of the shorts and the long content, I do my best to get to answering those as well too. Black Panther Party. Oh yes, the militant community for sure, for sure. All right, so definitely stay tuned for more, and I will see you guys next week at 8 o'clock for another great discussion on firearms. Okay, see you guys soon. Have a good night.